just
pretty small.
people. It wasn't that many people that were affected, but most of them didn't know about it before it happened.
That was he was supposed to, when I left Monday night, he was supposed to be doing the road cross today.
Mhm.
And apparently while I was going yesterday, they changed their minds because they're having a tough slog coming up from the river to get across the road.
Mhm.
So they abandoned that, they went to this, they knew they'd get that done.
All right, we'll talk about it in the,
Yeah.
okay, I see Brooke is here, so why don't we go ahead and start the meeting. It is 10 August 2022. This is a regular board meeting of the Water River Valley Select Board. I'm the chair, Rich Rita, and attending also today is the vice chair, Margaret Turner, and select board member, Bob Freeze. We have a quorum. I don't see anybody here for privilege of the floor. Okey-doke. Shall we move on to approval of minutes?
There was another set of minutes that Steve sent out to you earlier this afternoon with the revisions. I don't know if you want to utilize that email copy or what I put in your packet.
The email copy, have you had a chance to look at? I extensively revised
I
the,
thought it just showed what the changes were. It didn't show a revised.
he sent another,
He sent another one out this afternoon.
which had it
had
combined.
the
Oh,
changes in place.
Did you want to defer it until you see the whole thing, or did you?
no, I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
I think all he did was incorporate what I put in your packet, the changes.
Yes,
that Rich
I
had.
read it,
He
yeah.
just put them into the minutes.
So there's actually a draft, one
Yeah.
copy of the draft minutes. Okay, is that the only, that's the only minutes we have?
Yeah, it was.
It was the special meeting at this time? Well, we actually had two, right? We had the 7 o'clock and the afternoon, so those are both
They're
in,
both.
in the packet. Do I have a motion to
So moved.
second?
She wasn't there.
I
Oh,
wasn't there.
well, we'll have to
You
do a
were there
second
for
for
the
the first one, so let's do
You were
it.
there.
I already approved them.
Yes, you already.
Oh, it has been approved. Okay, we did that one.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
And
So the
abstain.
second set is
And abstain.
and abstain. So this is the second set,
for the 50.
and it'll be the email that Steve sent out is actually the actual draft
Yeah.
that we're approving.
Yep.
Okay, financial update.
I had one question. I think it's under general government where it shows we're 75% expended.
That is a timing issue. That's the bus agreement payments, the WVRA subsidy, which is a lump sum payment, the Ray Center subsidy, that's a lump sum. In Shakespeare in the Valley, that's lump sum. So that's why they're so far ahead.
Okay,
Public safety, we're 10,000 better than budget.
You tell you expenditures or revenues?
Revenues.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Yes.
that up
So
too.
we'll adjust revenues at the meeting on the 24th. And those numbers, Bob, will actually change because you're gonna vote to change them. So we'll reflect the actual collected when we make the revisions.
I don't understand.
Well, so we estimate, all of our revenues are estimated, right?
Yeah.
Until the tax rate setting when we lock them in.
Okay.
So we have the original numbers, these numbers here on the proposed budget are what we showed in the town report.
Okay.
But those are all based on previous years and what we think we're gonna collect. You get, as the Board of Selectmen, you get to revise those at the beginning of September, and we submit that to Department of Revenue Administration.
So, but my question is, why is public safety?
They're collected, I don't know what the particular thing that they collected is over. Yeah,
Yeah, parking tickets and the details are gone to.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
so that just would have been.
Yeah, that was my question. What was the increase, cause for the increase in revenue? I think that's what you're asking, right, Bob?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but what we will do is we'll probably take that number up to the 75,000. So that we're closer, we get credit for it before we set the tax.
So we revise our estimate,
We revise our estimate.
estimates.
Right.
So police details are like when we hired to direct traffic someplace,
Or if we go to different towns and do different details, they pay us.
so does that then get also offset in the expense side?
There is an expense for it as well. We have a budget line item for detail there.
Okay.
Anything else on finances?
So
All righty. Let's go ahead and move on to department reports. Brooke, would you like to start us off today?
Sure. This past weekend, we had the Ugata Regatta, which was well attended. Not sure if anyone else out there to see it, but we had 18 teams on the beach. And it just went really well. I think that people are catching on to, if they make the boogie board method, then they win. So we're looking at dividing, making some divisions.
Classes.
Classes of vessels.
Classes of vessels.
It's 2 years in a row that the boogie board style is won.
Gotta change.
Yeah, so anyway, but it was really fun. Thanks to DPW for helping us with cardboard collection and letting us use their truck. We are in the last traditional week of camp right now, and it's been going really well. We're still, full. We're really the most full in August, which is typical. And our numbers are great. And our staff is super high energy. They're doing such a good job this summer. I can speak, too highly of them. And then next week we have our field trip week, which is that extended week of camp that we're offering. And we did get some more interest, so we're opening a second bus for that. So that's great. And we'll be doing our staff appreciation dinner tomorrow night at the rec department. And geez, what else can I tell you?
Well, we have a new weekly total record. So week 6,
Yeah.
340 camper days is a new record for the rec. Since we've been keeping numbers. And I also want to point out that 22 with the 2 weeks left, the
Right.
traditional and the trip week, we've already set a new record for the year.
Of
We're
camp,
already 2,200 camper days.
camper days. How does that, I was struggling trying to understand how that translates into staff. Is there a conversion factor? Do you go camper day, X amount of camper days means I need 1 staff person?
No, I'm not sure if we really have a limit. There's suggestions of how many staff, but we have a super low ratio, which is great. And I think that's one of the reasons we're so successful is we don't have, 15 kids per 1 staff, which some kids run like that.
So when you plan, like you say, this time, I can't, blows up.
What is
I see 1,000 over the difference is 1,000 since,
over the 14.
over the 14 years, but what's the difference, say, over?
So we're right now we're at 2,200 camper days.
Right, okay,
for the
thank you.
year.
So, so you don't sit down like prior to next year's camp and say, okay, we had 2,200 hours, whatever it turns out to be, 2,400 hours, and that means I'm gonna need X amount of staff because there's a coefficient you can apply
No, you know
to,
what?
that's not how it works, okay.
No, we're limited by our space. So it's typically the same every year. I hire the same amount of staff because we have 5 camp groups, and each camp group needs 2 staff.
So it's broken down by the
Yes.
age groups,
Yeah.
basically,
I
because
think
the camps are broken.
One thing to note in these numbers is if you're looking at 10 years, it's pretty impressive because we have sort of the same numbers or even smaller groups, but we have more campers. And that's just showing you that it's more consistent through the summer. We're full pretty much the whole summer. And we also were able to add a camp group that 2016 or 17. So we're able to increase increase that, but we're running fewer weeks than we were when I first came on board.
We were running 10 weeks.
Yeah,
Right,
9 or
right.
10
Those lower numbers.
10 weeks
Yeah.
was a unusual year, usually it's 9 standard, sometimes it
Right.
might be 10. But now we're running, 7 full weeks and then an 8 field
The
trip.
field trip week, right?
Because of staff shortages, I mean, all of our staff basically drop off this Friday.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the pressure we're under, however, we've been able to increase our camp numbers by doing some other things.
And-
How long you been here? Brooke?
This is my 8th year.
And we increased the pay for staffers this year, as I recall. Do you think, are you seeing a correlation between that increase and not so much numbers, but quality?
I'm not sure if we just got really lucky this year, but I'm sure that helped. We just have a really exceptional staff this summer, and I think that it helps a lot to be able to compete.
Mhm.
I talked to other rec directors in our area, and they were not so lucky with staff this summer. So I just feel really fortunate, and it's important to remain competitive, especially at the end of the road.
I remember last year, there was some difficulty, a little bit of competition with the Cascades camp. Was it less so this year in terms of staff?
Yeah, I don't think we really, I think there's a place for both of us. I do.
Right, no, yeah, yeah,
I think they're doing a totally different thing. We did get one of their counselors that came from their camp last year, and, I know that some of our campers grew up and went to their camp to be counselors. So,
right. There's an
but I
overnight,
don't think
right.
that we're really competing.
Okay, so it's settled out to
Yeah,
two different
I
programs
think so.
serving two different needs of population, might be a way of.
That being said, I think we need to be competitive with them, especially in terms of pay.
Right. So you think we'll be looking at an increase probably next year in an
Probably,
hourly
but I
rate?
don't think it will be as significant.
Okay.
Because, we took that
Big
much
club.
needed jump this year.
And it's the usual cohort for counselors, the usual roughly age group,
Yep, we actually had a mixture of college and really young staff this summer, not just camp counselors, but if you look at all of our staff, and it was a really good combination.
and that's why they, for the record, that's why they disappear in mid-August roughly.
Yes.
Say,
Sports
sports
camp
thing.
start for high schoolers this week, and then for college kids, they're going back to school.
Lucky them, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Was that it for rec?
Geez, there's
How's
so
the
much going on.
scavenger hunt going?
Really, there's been an awesome reaction to that. We've had 5 people complete it, come collect their grand prize, and everyone has been so grateful and thankful for really the Historical Society and us coming together to bring this to the valley. I mean, they say it's not too easy, but it is a challenge. It's a really good mix for kids and their families to go around and find these things. So I don't know if any of you have looked at the list.
I haven't looked at the list.
But it's pretty interesting. And you can't just run out and do it in 5 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a day or two.
My wife and I did 2 years from Down East Magazine all over Maine. You have to go all over Maine and do about
Wow.
40 different things.
Oh, wow.
It was really fun. You get to see the entire state and do things you'd never possibly do
Yeah,
otherwise.
right. Yeah.
Some were a little strenuous.
That might be a good idea. That sort of thing might be a good idea for the historical trails people
Yes,
to work in the scenic byways that we have here in New
Right.
Hampshire. That would be pretty cool.
as an aside, before I forget, Reggie was asking me if we had any plans to get together on on that. I told her we were just pressed with so many other things, but it's still sometime this fall.
Okay,
Be
that's fine.
good. Yeah, if you find any people are particularly good on finding packages put down, they may have a good talent. I know people who can have a use for something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very tough.
Yeah. So the only other thing I would add is the blood drive, which is August 20th. And then we have several facility rentals at the rec department and in the field coming up. So been very busy all around.
And did I see someone walk in?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Vicky. Did you have something you wanted? We're just rolling through the department heads, but if you had something you wanted to raise.
I'll wait till my turn. Oh,
Okay,
all right.
you have something on the agenda you wanted to talk about?
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay. I guess we can move on to Public Works. Nothing going on. Quiet summer.
Quiet, it's not bad, except for, of course, the garbage truck debacle. But at any rate, the lease is ended, the truck went back yesterday, so it should be in.
Where did they fly somebody out to get it?
Yeah, well, they actually, they're in the rental business, so they had to bring a truck from Cleveland to Brockton, Mass. And then what they
Oh, it's
do
like a
is they
car
knock a
rental.
little bit off the
Yeah.
delivery or pickup monies. And if somebody transports them to the next destination, and that's what we did too. The $300 knocked off.
It's like a car rental where, you know, the moving car and moving the truck.
So other than that, everything is going quite well.
So we'll talk about the updates during the
Sure.
whole business, but anything, nothing else?
But let's, you know, we still have, and I know you've been busy with all kinds of different things, but we still have 2 hydrants at least that are out.
Yeah, you know, I was noticing that yesterday too, that I'm walking by
And
there.
so, you know, let's make sure we get those before the start of the winter.
That this week was from the beginning of last month, this was the target week to get those done. And today being Wednesday, I will give another call to see when we are going to do those. So,
Who exactly are we waiting for?
Lee Johnson.
He gave us the price to
Right,
do them.
right. So we're just hostage to his schedule at this point. Everything is available, ready to go. We're waiting for the contractor to
Yep.
find how long will it take to,
Oh, those won't take long at all, but
a day, 2 days?
if we can get them both done in a day, that'd be great.
So water and sewer use report is on there, and
Yes.
it's not gonna be here, but while we have Jim. You know, we're tracking, we had a month that tracks very closely with what all of the indicators that we've been seeing. So there are no real surprises there. We are looking at about a 24% increase over 2019, 30% increase over 21.
Yeah,
So-
I was having struggling with some of
Yeah.
these graphs. How did you figure that out? I couldn't quite figure out how you got there.
Well, that is on the drinking water side.
Right, just
So
looking at
that's-
the drinking
That's
water.
just comparing these totals with each other.
The yearly.
So 19 to, the first one is 19 to 22,
Right,
and then 20 to 22,
right.
and then 21 to 22,
I see.
and then the
Okay, now I get it.
percentages.
Yeah, I was getting thrown by the number. Immediately, of course, I went to the number under the line,
Yeah.
you know, EOM March total.
You can, comparing apples and oranges, unless I'm wrong. The first 3 columns only add up through June. And the 4th column adds July. So if you look at July included in all of them, it's 24,005, 23,002, 21,009, 24,005.
Okay. I will
The
check
first 3
that.
columns this July,
Okay.
so it's pretty even,
So, yeah, it's pretty consistent.
yeah, so it's not a big increase like it looks like.
Okay, I will check that. And send out the corrected one.
And on the wastewater side,
Wastewater side, I hope that doesn't have the
I
same
didn't,
state.
I didn't add that one.
But it is showing decreases, but again, that is, we have the corrections of the INI in, the inflow. And the repairs that we made to the collection system that kept us from having groundwater and all of that. So that's why the numbers are lower at this point. Is because those previous years, we were treating a lot of groundwater.
And with that gone, and eventually with the lagoons gone, that's not going to be an issue, right? That won't be a
No,
factor into the calculation.
no, should not be. No.
No, infiltration will
Always be an
always.
issue,
Well,
a
it-
potential,
Function of maintenance.
a potential,
Right, but we are going to have to maintain it or get our new permit. So
right, when that, on
hopefully
that,
we'll have less and less.
PM
And we-
plan that we have
And
to
we,
follow.
quite frankly, the water and sewer numbers are getting much closer when you adjust for the rain.
Right.
The precipitation, so we have taken care of most of the I&I issues. Right,
So while we're talking about water, should we look at
Yeah.
the, under new business drought conditions?
Let us do that, indeed. That would be 7C. So I looked at it, I suppose we can look at level 1 restrictions if we're,
Mhm.
if we think we want to go there at this point, but Margaret, Bob, do you have any?
Is that the one that limits watering your lawn before 7 in the morning and after 8?
Yeah, it's voluntary,
Yeah.
especially on the lawn watering.
Mhm.
The landscape watering, I forget exactly what the terminology is, but it also says if you do it between
In
7
the
a.m.
evening.
and
After 8 in the
During-
evening, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you look at the adjusted numbers that I just mentioned,
Mhm.
you know, we're not much different than other years, you know, and you know, like in 2019, 24,500, this year, 24,500.
Well, but the problem, the issue isn't the yearly usage, it's the comparison of the water to the sewer. And so we have the that's where the 540,000 gallon difference that I highlighted in the memo comes from. So what the sewer number is 540,000 540,000 gallons less than the water number. So that is the amount of water that is being used, most of it in June and July, on irrigation or outside of sewer use. So either watering, landscape irrigation, or
Right.
washing vehicles or
Yeah.
whatever it is. That would be what you are looking to limit. It isn't, it's to try to get that number down as much as. we
Right.
can.
in combination with the groundwater levels, which apparently are low according to the graphs.
Well,
that-
our groundwater numbers, the monitoring that we do out at well 4.
Right.
We still have, we're still maintaining groundwater levels, but around us in other communities, especially Camden.
I see Camden and
They-
Albany on the other
they're-
side. Yeah.
They're seeing groundwater levels come down. We're right on the line between the moderately dry and the drought condition.
I guess I had trouble thinking that we need to do any action.
Well, that's the question before
I
us.
mean, first of all, we're coming into late August.
And we have to notice it and
Yeah,
so forth, so.
and our water levels are the same, the amount of water we're producing is similar to previous years. So, and our water table is okay. So I guess given this point in the season, it doesn't seem to me like this is big.
Well, one thing you could do is you could put it in effect for next year. I mean, it doesn't have to be just during the summer. You can put the ban into place so that going into next summer, unless we see a significant change in the precipitation rates, because we're so low this year, this isn't just for this summer. I mean, I'm looking at it for even next year. If these trends continue the way that they are,
See, I
We're
would,
looking-
I would like to do something on a voluntary basis only, so that we don't
Mhm.
jump from doing nothing
Right.
to being.
That would be
mandatory.
level one, pretty much, yeah? Is
Just
that what?
voluntary basis, voluntary basis,
Right.
you know,
to make people aware.
yeah,
And so that.
that we
So that
are,
we've started.
we're in
Yeah.
between that, you know, absolute dry and drought period right now. We're on the edge of it. And that we think it is a prudent thing for people to voluntarily reduce their use of, you know, outside water.
in with like every other day, or what would you?
No,
No, no, those are the different levels we have.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're arguing is something, you're arguing or thinking that we're not really talking level one, but something just short of that, because
Yeah.
level one, the only thing it really restricts is the hours,
Yeah,
and everything else is voluntary.
yeah,
And so you would not
And
restrict the
just say
hours.
that we're continuing to experience dry conditions.
mhm,
There's no indication that it's gonna change in the near future.
mhm.
We're asking for a voluntary reduction in the use of water.
And we
in
could say,
every-
when we can also say, and if possible, water, if you,
Right, I mean, whether
Yeah.
it's outside irrigation
Yeah.
or whether it's washing your vehicle less or
Mhm.
putting in new fixtures
Just
that are
just a subjective statement.
just a,
Yeah.
just.
yeah, just at this
Opposed to
point.
saying we recommend you do.
Yeah, we have to, if we did a level one, we'd have to hold a public hearing and so forth and so on, so. I like Margaret's,
I
yeah.
like doing something on a voluntary basis.
Basis at this
first.
point.
Yeah,
If they could volunteer to water prior to 8. And after 8,
yeah,
that would go a long ways, because I think they will use less water. And they won't forget that their sprinklers on for the whole day, and
mhm,
it's much better for the plants and the grass. And we don't lose it all to evaporation.
right,
Okay,
right.
so we can put some language
We'll
together.
draft up a letter
Yeah.
that we can send out as a request for voluntary.
Right.
water
And
use.
we could do, we did, the last couple of years, is every meeting, just monitor it, and then if we need to move to something.
Yep.
Okay,
Apologize at the point of this one, I'll check.
not a problem. All right, are we good with DPW then? DPS,
Very busy, unfortunately. James and Zach just both are official EMTs. They got their licensing this week, so they're good. Cody's about quarter of the way through fire school. Radar trailer numbers, July was a very active month. We knew there was a lot of people here, you could just feel it. But the radar board on Valley Road is the most ever. We had 20,000, which I think the highest in the winter off the top of my head was 19, so. We had the most people driving on Valley Road on that second sign, and Triple I was about 1,100 cars a day. Average coming into town. And Marvin told me, I know we had somebody bring it up last year that it's catching bicycles. Marvin told me this is not catching bicycles.
they gotta be going pretty fast, right?
Well, no, the one on Valley will catch him if he did it just right, but as he was asking me, like, adjust it a little bit. Because he liked to know when he was finishing his ride, he's like, it's just not good. But it's okay. So it is not catching all bikes, so enjoy the cars.
So Pat, did you get the placards back that I sent?
I did, yes.
So I don't.
I don't know the whole story.
Rich knows about this. I was playing golf a couple days ago and I looked down at the mobile sign, the mobile speed sign
The
that's
trailer.
right there.
The trailer.
The trailer.
Yeah.
Said that the speed limit was 50 miles an hour. So somebody had taken the placards and switched them and changed it to 50.
All those are wing nuts, so.
Yeah.
Wing nuts.
Yeah. But the base sign says 25, so I just took them all off and.
That's what we'll just do, is we'll just leave it. I mean, if worse comes to worse, we don't need to put it, we have enough speed limit signs, we don't need to put that up. I mean,
Yeah.
Maybe put it on.
Yeah.
We were just hoping somebody wouldn't mess with it, but they didn't.
It
Some
was over the
neighborhoods are-
weekend.
Well, you gotta be careful with some of our neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
I know pretty much that's it, just busy.
But I mean, I do like to see that around at different places. I think you guys have been placing it very. Very
We still
prudently
do
in different areas.
recommendations, the only, I
Yeah.
only got two in the last 2 years, one was Dune Peak, I think that's where it's, so every Friday we move it, that's our.
Yeah,
When we do it, so, this Friday will be on Dune Peak. This is my area.
yeah, they've expressed concern in the past about what appears to them, people speeding
And the
going
thing
down.
is I can always pull the data off. That tells me if people really are speeding or not.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's more of an illusion.
Right.
They look like they're going faster than
Sure.
they really are, because the speed limit is 25. So.
Right. If for nothing else, collecting the data,
Absolutely.
it's worth having it around just as a,
It's a great deterrent, a lot of people
yeah,
see it as a nice reminder of, oh, it's like.
And just as a reminder with the traffic counts, North Country Council still has their traffic counters out. So we'll be getting data from them.
those are the folks that put them,
That's.
I was wondering who
ones that
put
are-
those out, yeah, the Snows Mountain, so.
So
So what's the, what, there's two sets of them, so,
there is.
so which,
So they're measuring the total number that's coming into town
In and out.
in and out, and then they're counting the number of people who have stayed straight, which will give us the lap in the turns, so. Yeah, so I mean, July was the
Mhm.
second highest or third highest month for the year, so. You know,
That's not unexpected.
not unexpected at all. for this
February
summer.
being the highest.
Yeah.
January, July.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised in December, but that's probably concentrated on in a 1 week,
Christmas.
1 week
yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Anything else, Patrick?
No, that's.
is Dave's on vacation?
Yes.
Chris has been covering code enforcement. So we're still monitoring contractors.
They're certainly churning and burning.
They are busy.
They're obviously trying to get things done as much as possible for the weather
Yeah.
impacts them. Okay, DPS, we good? Let's go to calendar review. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks, the 24th at 3 p.m. Planning board meeting tomorrow. It's a regular meeting at 8 a.m. And the run for the following schedule for 24 September.
I wanted to just
Go ahead,
let
yeah.
you know, we've had a couple of meetings this week with the run for the fallen staff and the resort staff. All of the permits are done, all of the coordination between the run people and the resort funding. So those arrangements are all done for the 24th. We have posters that are going up both around town here and Campton, Thornton, Plymouth area, just to provide some information.
So with the fallen from all over the state, what's the,
So there are 90 people since 9/11 who have died in service and on active duty.
in New
From
Hampshire?
New Hampshire. And so they'll have a station for each one of them.
Right,
And we're looking at the same
Say
Route.
the 4 mile loop
right?
and
People can
so
walk it or
people
run
can
it.
be walking,
Right.
running it.
Will the
There'll be a small ceremony at the beginning, right there by the arena. And they'll have
Mhm.
the park area set up with the pictures. of
Right,
everybody.
like last
Yeah,
time.
like
Right.
last year.
Will the resort be heading up an effort to create signs that people can purchase?
Yes, there will be a fundraising.
Was that the resort or the resort
That was
association?
a resort.
Oh, it's a resort, so they're gonna,
Yeah.
so
they're gonna
that
do
get the
that
word
again.
out to.
Yeah.
To folks on that.
And we'll touch base with the school once they're back in session. Meet with the PTO if they want to do the bake sale like they did last year.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Get the
There'll be,
involvement of the kids.
so get the opening ceremony, the run for about, this is about an hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And then they'll be going over to the conference center for a meal for the families.
will there be an article in the wigwag to explain what it is before, like?
I can work with Mike Fergal on that.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Get a little bit more visibility.
Yeah, I mean, I
Local.
didn't know that it was all of New Hampshire. I
Yeah.
assumed it was, but
Yeah.
it was more an assumption than any.
Yeah,
And I didn't know it was since 9/11.
Yeah.
I think those kinds of things would be good to get out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, WMUR, any,
they make contact with.
they do that? Okay.
Yeah, it's, post 35 down in Hampton, American Legion. Post
So
35.
they have the,
They're the ones.
Coordinated.
who have been coordinating this. They actually have a monument down there in Hampton that they put the names on. So they just have taken that and, there were a few, private citizens that were doing the run for the first 4 years,
right.
but they got burnt out on it. And then the post 35 took it over.
So is it all military or is it,
It's all military, active duty.
okay, it's not police officer
No.
or anything like that?
Mm.
So yeah, I think that kind of.
Yeah.
Descriptive information would be helpful.
Great, great idea.
All branches of the military.
I do have two quick things I completely forgot. We're looking at doing we're not, Citizens Academy this year. Just don't have
Alright.
the money to do it this year. So we're gonna do an open house in October in conjunction with one of our, on the evening. In conjunction with one of our training nights, just for the public to come. And then I meet with the school Friday for school safety, I completely forgot about the school safety. Reading, we go once a month for reading and recess and stuff like that. So if there's any concerns you guys have, let me know. So I'll meet with the principal, I think Friday and those. Like, probably those things, so.
Are we good on? DPS, alrighty, let's skip over, the zoning ordinance, the discussion with Wendy. She said she'd be here about 4.
Do you want to go to privilege?
Oh, yeah, is this, sorry, I can't see.
Did you
Big-
leave?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I
Okay.
actually have a couple of more things to add, I'm so sorry.
sure, no, that's what we're here for.
So,
It's hard to remember everything. It really is. Then you-
I'm gonna write it down like time. So I did speak with Lindsay, I met with Lindsay and Leah to sort of organize our after school approach to make sure that we're all in the line.
Coordinated,
Yeah,
right.
with each other, and it sounds like we are, so that's great. We're gonna be getting all of that out to Lindsay so she can distribute to the families, and hopefully all the, between our survey and her survey, we can, serve whichever population needs to be served with after school programs. So that's great. And I also wanted to let you know that the waterfront, we're gonna be able to keep open 7 days a week until I think it's August 28th or so, and it'll be closed that Monday through Thursday, and then open again
Just on the week.
Friday through Monday for Labor Day weekend, and after that, it will go to weekends only until October. So I just wanted you to know that we were able to string together enough staff this summer to keep it open for those 2 weeks, which is great. So that was the only thing.
You haven't heard anything new on the gazebo?
I have, I just got an email 5 minutes ago.
Oh.
Did you get it?
I
Yeah.
didn't get.
Sounds like they.
Not that I knew
didn't get to
that.
it until next spring.
Okay,
They said that, it's, there's no more weddings to get in the way, but their staff is working on something else, and
okay,
she's asking me to work for our team to do it next spring. So I guess that's our,
right. And we had set aside,
It's a
what, 15,
capital, yeah.
15,000?
Yeah, and it's a capital item, so
So
we
we
can
can-
carry it.
yeah.
Okay. This is Marissa you were talking
Yep.
to?
Yeah, and she's been great to deal with. I mean, I just feel for her because no one will let her work in town square, at certain times. She only has these tiny little windows to do anything. And they, of course, had all their own projects going on. So that took up all their time between weddings happening. So anyway, I do feel good about it happening next spring. So I'll just, hold out for that.
Is there any news on the preschool? I know it's not the towns, but
They are hiring a new teacher,
okay.
and they will be operating the preschool.
So they did
They
find
have
enough.
six, they have six right now
Okay,
and 4 possibles.
okay,
So,
okay.
that actually would be an increase of 1
Mhm.
over last year to get those 4.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. We good then, department heads, everything's good,
Yes.
not remembering anything else? Okay, so Wendy, I think I see, why don't you come on up,
Come on.
have a seat at the table
The
here.
main table here, and
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah, please, and let us talk about planning board and.
I'm over in this
Yeah,
side, and
come
you
on
might
up.
be
Yeah,
able
you'll
to
be on-
see.
You'll be on the camera.
Be on camera.
Yeah, so basically, as you all know, we've been working with Tara Bamford to help the planning board update our master plan. It's taken a bit more of her time and effort than we'd hoped in figuring out the initial budget. Her as of June, early July of the original 10,000 we had for this year, we had 2,500 left. Her July invoice came in predictably high, but perhaps a little higher than I'd expected at 36 hours, which was 2,175. So that's leaving us with just a few $100s left. She has, the vast majority done, but it would be nice to be able to not only have her continue to do any final edits and public engagement, but also there are a few little things that I think could be easily ticked off that have been found. Little corrections to the site plan review and a couple little zoning things that I think would be really easy to take care of. It'd be nice to have her do it. If we could have a few more $1,000. I would think 3,000 would cover it. And it's a little bit frustrating, so I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, she didn't quite spend all of her budget last year. So we had a shortfall last year, and part of it was she had some family issues come up when she was trying to get hours in and couldn't, but calendars are what they are. So that's.
Yeah, I think that the $3,000, there are zoning issues that I think we need to at least discuss whether or not we're gonna move them forward. Some of them are just more of edits than making substantive changes, but I think we've got some issues that have come up over the last couple of months that we need to address exactly how we want to handle them. We are significantly underspent. I think it was in the legal line that I was talking to Steve about, which would be in general. Let's see, legal expenses, we have $15,000 remaining, 15,600 remaining there. So, and we do have contingency monies that we had appropriated as well. So I don't think that the 3,000 is going to be a problem bottom line.
Okay.
Total budget.
So we're talking the planning zoning line.
Yeah, the planning zoning line is what we would like to plus up. And the way that we'll handle that, if we decide to take it out of contingency or whatever, is we'll continue to pay on that line so that we have the historical information. It'll just be overexpended there. That's all.
Yeah,
So do we have to do anything then, or just say, okay,
We'll just,
We need a motion,
we wanted to come in and just
Right.
find out if you were amenable to doing that, but we have the funds available for it.
yeah, just as a general context, I think we're very close to finishing the master
Yes.
plan,
Very
which
close.
we've been working on, I think, for like 2 years.
Feels like 4.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, well, maybe COVID kind of screwed around with the schedule, but and that may account for it does account for the recent invoice, because we were meeting twice a month to try to get through the master plan and get that out of the way.
But yeah, the initial public engagement was in the fall of 2019, so yeah.
That's right.
Then,
That's
Oh,
right,
wow.
which was very well attended, we had like 70
Yeah.
some odd people come,
and it'd be great to have something like that again when we have a
a
finished.
finished product, yeah.
So we're not looking to increase the budget, we're just looking to say, go ahead and overspend it by $3,000.
And we'll let you know if something really big comes up.
Right.
We don't expect, this expenditure does include the reimbursement by the applicants for any of Tara's work that she spent reviewing
Right,
site plan or subdivision applications. So we get all of her time spent doing that reimbursed.
right,
But this is just our.
right. And anticipated or potential zoning amendments
Yeah.
review to see if we want to
Yeah.
make any amendments and then helping.
Yeah.
And Tara helping us
I
do
mean, the
it.
master plan is once every 10 years, and this has been a major undertaking, and I think we have a better plan now than.
Oh, I
we've
think so.
had.
This is,
Yeah.
and this is such a strong foundation, because she's written it with like a single voice. I don't know how much time you've spent reading previous master plans, but each chapter sounded very different.
Different.
But I think this gives
Yeah.
each successive planning board a strong foundation to do even less work in the future.
I think it's been going
So you're
extremely well.
okay doing that?
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to vote on that or?
No,
No.
I think we're okay with just your concurrence.
All right.
While Wendy was here, as far as the zoning amendments, I wrote a couple of things here that
Right,
have been immediate questions that we've had. Our zoning ordinance is silent on political signs. And I think some kind of language where we refer to the state law should be added to it, just to make it clear. Because when the question came to us, it was not immediately clear what we should do. I think that would be a very simple addition to the sign ordinance. And then
yeah, there's a list of exceptions we could.
there are some
For
exceptions, just,
temporary signs
Yeah.
and private property, just
Yeah.
add it.
well, I think we can just do it as in the general statement.
Okay,
And just
Excellent.
refer to that RSA that I
Right.
told you about it. And just say.
Right.
this
and we'll
is
just
what it
take a
is.
reasonable person's approach as to what a political sign could be. We're not gonna try to define political sign.
No, I think in the statute, it
There is.
defines, so.
Okay, follow,
Yeah,
okay.
So we would
Makes it
just
easier.
follow the
Okay.
state law, and that way, if the
Very
state
good.
law changes, we don't have to do anything.
Right.
Good,
We'll just do whatever they say.
all right,
The other thing was these temporary sign applications for nonprofits, fundraisers. We have, we currently handwrite some applications for like the turkey plunge and some of them we just quite frankly ignore because they just happen every year. And so maybe some language that gives a little bit of discretion to the board or their agent as far as these events. I mean, we
Are
can.
we
work
charging
on-
fundraisers?
No, we're not
No.
charging the fundraisers for.
you want to simplify the
I just
process.
want to simplify the process. There's no, I mean, the tent thing has been going on since I've been here. We have 20 applications for the same thing, the same sign. I think they've been using for 15 years. I just think that we could come up with some language that just exempts that or gives us the right to, because right now it's just a blanket statement that any temporary sign needs a permit.
Mhm.
And so a little bit of discretion might
Yeah.
be useful. So. if
Do we
you're okay
charge
with
the
it-
10 people?
No, because a lot of that's BDTS fundraising,
Okay.
that kind of stuff, so.
Well, I
So-
think if it's related to a fundraiser or, a nonprofit or that kind of thing, I don't have a problem with making an exception. So all that paperwork.
I mean, all of those.
So when we have a
folks are-
craft fair in and somebody wants to put up a sign.
Right, yeah,
right,
exactly.
they need- yeah.
Sure,
A couple other things we're finished. A couple of things I thought of was in looking through the sign ordinance. It says permanent banners, pennants, and flags are considered to be signs. So I've seen places where they somebody parks a truck or something and they have advertising on the side of the truck to get around the sign ordinance, or over in Vermont, I even saw it on the side of cows. So I don't know whether that needs to be expanded at all. Maybe it's not a big deal. Flags that are mentioned as considered signs. But
Yeah, we went through this, like, we redid the sign ordinance. I think it was Bill Larson took the lead on the planning board at the time,
I think it was like 3 years.
3 years ago, and worked closely with, I think, with Tara on it to make sure we were,
But Tom Gross has all those
yeah.
nation's flags around the tennis courts.
Mhm.
Is he in violation? I wouldn't think
Maybe not
so.
right.
I think, hadn't we landed on US flags or not? So maybe we need to
Yeah.
expand that to international like flags of nations. Should
Yeah.
not.
And then things like sandwich signs in the town square, or can you put up a welcome sign, open sign outside of business?
Well, that's always been a question inside town square. We have never regulated anything
Because it's not
inside
visual.
town
It's
square.
private property.
Because
Yeah.
it was private property and it wasn't visible
Okay.
from the road.
Okay,
But the uses of the businesses, so when
Is the
town square was originally built, there were X number of restaurants, there were X number of offices and all that. And the parking that was permitted, and the access in and out and all of that was set on those numbers under those regulations at the time. We, like, when a restaurant has left and whatever that space was turned into, that's never come back for site plan review. So I don't know if we want to go there or not, but that is,
Well, one
you
of
know,
the issues we were
that's
thinking of
a use.
looking at at zoning, right, as a zoning amendment,
right,
as a change of use.
Yeah.
Because there are ramifications in terms of parking, for example.
and then the whole
Well,
question
yeah,
that we
right.
had with change of use,
Right,
because sometimes it needs a special exception, sometimes it doesn't.
and I've
I
heard
think
that,
we
yeah.
need to work on the language of how to do that.
That we can work on the planning board on that, on these issues, Bob, and is there anything else?
No.
Good, yeah.
Would that include like all the rec department sandwich boards?
Well, right now it does, but that's the kind of thing we're looking, if we do that once a year and have a list of what you're planning to do. That's a lot simpler than getting a permit every time you use a sign. Because right now, the way the ordinance is written, you would have to do that.
Right.
So,
does the town in general have an exception?
yeah, we don't have to follow our
Need for her.
zoning ordinance. So.
And all set.
But we like to try to live up to our own rules when we can.
Yeah.
So. but, Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow morning,
Yes, right now.
early, I don't know how bright, early for sure. All righty, so what I see here, and that covered the other, right?
Yep,
Mark,
I covered everything.
do we want to go to valuation changes, or do we want to go to old business, and since we have
Yeah. let's-
Jim here, and,
Yeah, we can talk about the valuation at the end.
okay, so why don't we move to, update water river crossing, new treatment plan, and transfer station
Okay.
inspection. You can take any of those.
School, what about school building use?
Yes, well, we're doing.
Yeah,
We're gonna get Jim through the three things for Jim, so pick one and start it off, Jim.
Well, the water project, as I think I told you, the river crossing is complete, that section of piping. And with all conduit and the two pipes that we're putting across the river.
So,
One is the well 3 pipe,
yeah,
and the other one would be the transmission main that would replace the one that's encased in concrete if something should happen.
okay, so I need a picture in my head. We've got well 3, and has it got pipe coming out of it to something new?
it has pipe coming, well, 3
Mhm.
has a river crossing downstream.
Right, I know
Right,
that's done.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was years ago they did that.
right.
And it comes up through the road that goes into the potential dog park.
Mm-hmm,
And then it used to come into that little pump house.
right,
Right.
Pump house 1.
right.
That has been cut. And we have a pipe ready to join that takes it across the river again.
Underneath the bridge.
No, downstream. of
See,
the
this
bridge.
is why I need a picture. Because I've
So
seen
then
all
we're-
the holes, but I can't
We're
figure out
actually putting
what's.
two pipes. under
Well,
there.
well, 3 is here. This
Right.
is the river.
Right,
The pipe comes out, goes down here along David Britton's land.
Mhm.
We're gonna intercept it.
mhm,
The old pump house is here. That'll be
Mhm, mhm.
demolished.
mhm.
Now the new crossing comes back across the river.
Okay, no, this is the one that they just put in.
Yes, this
new
is the one
crossing.
that they
So
just
we're not
put
up at the
in.
bridge.
No,
We're
the
not up at
bridge
the
is
bridge.
here.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
the treatment building is over
Okay.
here. And then, so right now they're putting in this. Okay,
Okay.
and they're gonna go all the way to the new treatment building.
To the new
And
treatment
connect
building.
with that.
But there are actually 2 pipes that cross the
There's
river.
2 pipes that
There's
go
2
across the
pipes.
river.
Across the river.
Here.
One
Okay.
one is to bring
One
well
goes this
3
way.
into
The well house, the
The well-
water treatment.
water treatment
Right.
facility. And the other one is the spare transmission main to the reservoir and the rest of the system on this side of the
Right.
river.
So this one was existing, this.
Yes,
This
and
one
This
that you
solid
can't-
line
yeah.
was all existing.
Okay,
It used to connect into the
Right.
building.
It it didn't connect into the old crossing.
No, it did
No.
not. It connected into this building here.
And that's when that water is treated.
Right, and that's where the water was
Right.
treated.
This is all decommissioned.
And
Mhm.
no, this
No.
is all staying in place.
Okay.
Okay, and the water is gonna go this way
Oh, I see now.
and
Okay,
then down to the treatment building.
right.
And then there's a return line. Right, that comes out of the treatment building
Red.
and comes
Right.
down
this
here.
is not to scale.
Right.
No, it's not the
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, it's the
No,
middle.
no, I
It's
get
the
it. And that's not spare. That's not
This
spare
is the spare way.
until the
to
other
get-
one gives up.
Yeah. This is the east side of the river and this is the west.
Right.
side.
So are we gonna continue to use the old crossing?
Yes.
Mhm.
As long
it
until it
fails?
fails.
And then we'll go to the new one?
Correct.
Which are, you putting in a valve at
Yeah.
that point?
All the valving, all the necessary valving for hydrant on the west side of the river crossing, and then all the necessary valving on the east side to connect into the existing transmission line is in place.
Okay,
Plus-
so is there another crossing next?
No, there's one
That goes
trench
this
that
way.
has two.
Oh,
Both of them are in the one
You have the
trench
old one you see that's in the concrete.
There's-
plant,
Mhm,
down by the bridge.
And then further
Right.
downriver.
Yeah.
There's a
100
crossing.
feet,
right,
You have the new
And
one,
then this.
one
is the
trench
new-
with 2 pipes.
one trench with 2 pipes
Yeah.
and 4 concrete.
In
So
the,
one of the pipes won't be used until the other one, the.
Correct.
one
The other
upstream
one.
that
fails.
won't
Just-
fail until it fails.
Correct.
okay,
And we did run an extra 4-inch conduit in there. Just in case we needed some type of either
Of service, yeah.
electric service, or even if we had issues with the bridge, we could still intercept and run the sewer, the force main sewer on your side of it through that
Mhm.
extra conduit.
So we go down about 6 feet, is that what we're under the river?
The cover is right around 7 feet.
7 feet?
Mhm. Yeah, and we got very lucky because all the big rocks are on top, and the further down in the river that you go, you get into better material, and then you hit a bed of clay. And that just made our day. It was great.
Very easy. Cross.
Stable.
And
And-
good material to have the pipe in.
Mhm.
And the other aspects of the project, the new trail and the fencing seem to be coming along, at least the new trail.
New trail is roughed
Right.
in.
Roughed in, that's correct, and that will all you know, that will take, once you don't see any more equipment there, then those things will start to fill in.
So
And the next thing is to go from West Branch Road up to the new treatment plant? Is that
Yes.
the next bit that they're doing? Yeah.
they'll be crossing the road tomorrow?
No,
No,
I anticipate because of the difficulties they're having right now,
Okay.
probably, that's why we got switched around today. They'll probably cross Monday or Tuesday.
So will the water to those residents have to be shut off again?
No,
The road.
But the
the
road,
road.
the road.
so they'll have to go down triple
They'll
I.
have to go to Triple I and back around to town.
No, I'm asking about the water service.
Water
Water will be
service,
fine.
no.
We just won't be able to use the road,
But that's only for the day,
but
right?
that's,
Right, and
yeah.
Hopefully.
that should be just for the day.
And then they still have to connect up pump number 2 to the treatment.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. And then there's a lot of inside work that you won't see.
Mhm.
So we should not have to disturb or shut down water again.
Did we get any angry people this morning?
Only
We
that
have a
it
few
was shut,
phone calls.
only that it was shut down before people knew.
Yeah, and we helped one resident. Who had a need for water, and provided it, and. Well,
We had, yeah,
And so when all this is buttoned up, I think it's at that point, we can relook at a possible municipal parking area along there by that trailhead. I think that was one of the areas, chief, that you and David had looked at as a place with perhaps half dozen cars, maybe.
yeah, the only thing we have to be worried about is the wellhead protection.
Right, but we will look at it and make sure.
And there's one other thing that, in regards to the road crossing and where they're working now, there's an awful lot of hikers coming through up from well 3. So we have to find a way to minimize that because they are, for the next 3 days, they're going 3 working days. They're working 4 days a week.
We have to shut down the Mad River Trail at one
yeah,
end.
I would put a sign at the beginning of the Mad River Trail.
Right.
Oh, that's all the way back by the pedestrian bridge.
Yes.
behind
Right.
Tyler's.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where you
Yeah.
put it,
No-
because that's the
no
only
exit
entrance.
on-
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no access
Temporary.
to
No access to West Branch Road.
Road.
And I don't know how you feel about the other side.
The Tyler Spring,
No,
No.
the.
Oh, you mean Mike's Stream?
Connector trail.
Yeah, Mike's
Mike's
Stream.
Dream.
Mike's Stream.
Well, until we get to the pump house, they can still utilize that. Or they can still come down the connector and then go out in front of the pump house. As we're working our way up.
Yeah, I just, every day I've gone by there, I just look and if there's machinery there, I just keep
Right,
going. you know,
right.
So, yeah,
Well,
it's kind of a common sense type of.
But you
thing.
could put a sign at the traffic
Sometimes
circle by Ray Drive, is it, or Ray, at that other end of Mike's Stream, telling people
Yes,
that,
we should put
Yeah.
a sign
that
there.
Yeah.
there's
Well,
no outlet.
Jim put construct or
down behind,
tape by Tecumseh too.
yeah.
Right, that's what I'm
We
talking
put,
about.
we
That's
put,
what we're
tape,
talking
I put tape
Right.
across there.
but they're still walking.
Yeah.
Right,
And you-
yeah, well, I mean, they could go down to the,
They could go down to the
That
river,
little-
take
Down
a
to the
circle and
river.
go back.
Yeah.
right,
That's
you
not
could
the
do
way.
that, actually, it is a circle, because you have the path along the river,
Mhm.
and then you can
making a
take it back.
sign that says no through to West Branch.
Right, for both, for both Mike's Stream. Okay,
And then actually, we need to start considering when they get around the well houses, to block the connector and make them use,
Up behind Larson's.
have them come out the electrical,
Yeah,
electrical line
right,
out onto West Branch Extension as well.
yeah, they'll be coming, they'll be running down from Snow's Mountain. and Whoa.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. All right.
All right, so
We'll get
that's
those 3 signs up.
okay, that's the Water River crossing.
Yeah.
And so we got the treatment plant and transfer station.
You wanna?
No, go ahead.
Transfer station, we had a meeting with Royal Tanner this morning. And we discussed a schedule, if you will, which is in line with the letters that we have written for the extension. And to see if we can get the extension to make them well aware that we have asked this, we put ourselves in a position where we can't wait. You know, this can't take 2 years. We'd like to bid it the first of the year. So they were on board with that.
We also have gotten another email from DES. We have a meeting tentatively scheduled for next Wednesday at 2 p.m. with the head of the solid waste division and the assistant commissioner.
Is that
of
Sanborn?
DES Sanborn and Mike, I can't remember his last name, Winsett. Mike Winsett, he's the division chief for solid waste. So we are meeting with them next Wednesday, hopefully at 2 o'clock. Joe Ducharme has agreed to attend that as well to cover the engineering side if they have any
Is
questions.
that in person or is that
It's a teleconference Teams meeting.
So they've
So-
suspended the date, they need a plan from us.
They do not need anything from us until after that meeting. So, but they've been, they've gotten back to us very quickly, so. Yeah, so we are progressing, and I'll give you updates by email as soon as that meeting happens.
All right, and then presumably at our next regular meeting, we could discuss.
Yeah, we should have a
next steps.
decision, we'll have a decision from them before the next.
And that'll
meeting.
give us a week to consider it.
Yes.
Okay, and the
New treatment plant, well, current operations is more important. We
Okay.
have 2 major pieces of equipment at our current plant. That have broken a variable speed drive and a blower motor. They're both A&D instrumentation has been here all day. Dylan called me just before the meeting and said that he thinks that they're repaired, but he was still making sure that the operation was correct. So that's why he's not here today. So I will give you a final okay by email once we know that that's happened. Still in breakpoint, which was why both of these pieces of equipment needed to be taken care of.
Mhm.
But breakpoint, other than these 2 breaks, which have both happened this week, breakpoint's been going very well. We are well under our normal chemical usage as far as cost is concerned and use of chemical. So things have been going very well.
Need to make it, what, 20 more days or so?
We've got to make it to the 31st.
Yeah.
21.
21 days. So,
So keep the fingers crossed for the weather we've been having.
yeah, the weather is
Because
also.
it's helpful. Biologically.
The warm water, the warm weather and warm water is. That's been going well. Design work is continuing. We're still on track for the end of September.
But a 60%.
60%.
do we feel like there's a need to go look at a plant that Hoyle Tanner has done? I'm
Sure, there are a couple in Vermont.
I
that
know,
are
yeah, you said
similar.
Bellows Falls and
Yeah.
a couple other places. I don't know. Did you?
I go on another
It seems
field
to
trip.
me that might be helpful.
Sure.
I go on.
No,
another
of
field
course,
trip.
if you think it's helpful, let's do
I'm
it.
sure
We're
that,
ready to get upon.
yeah. I'm sure that our favorite bus driver would love to take us to Vermont. Yeah, so I'll find out some exact, contact information with those and we'll set something up.
Yeah, I think that'd be,
No, great idea, yeah.
Didn't they sign the one in Whitefield?
no,
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 they didn't
No.
sign that one.
They just
Just know about it.
type the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
type.
Okay.
Alrighty, anything else on any of those public works issues? Projects? Alrighty. Why don't we move to the school building use agreement so that Brooke doesn't have to sit and listen to all the valuation discussion?
I went through it and, so I think there's a couple of notes, I don't know how specific you want me to get.
well, my intent here was for you guys to go through it so that when it came up at the school board, it
Which
wasn't
is next
for,
Thursday.
which is next Thursday. Or even before, if you can talk to Lindsay and let her know,
Yeah,
Well, it'd be nice to know what they're,
your things are covered.
right,
Yeah.
sure.
I
So-
think the biggest problem I have with it, and if you're all looking at it, it's on page 2. Under the priority of use. So I know that this is designed to be really helpful and clear. However, we haven't really been following this priority 1, which the first one says during the school year, weekday, after school, and weekday evening, the school has priority, assemblies, classes versus concerts. But what has been happening is that the rec department basically takes over after school with our multiple after-school programs and clubs. So I don't think that that's really accurate to continue to say that. And I don't know if they'll have a problem with that or not, but I think it's basically, we should have a priority after school because that's what we are doing.
That we're running the after-school
Yes.
program and
We're using all
other,
the space, we're doing
other rec
pickleball,
department.
we're doing, 4:00, we're doing.
But the issue was when they have like a concert or whatever.
Yes,
Then I think
and
that's.
I
why it was
understand
written
that,
there.
but it feels like that's more of an exception, so I was going
Yeah.
to say that we should say, that should be. It should say during the school year, the school has priority for assemblies, classes, rehearsals, and concerts, like carte blanche, basically, And then we move the weekday after school, the weekday evenings to the rec department's priority, because that's really what's happening.
Mhm.
And of course, if the school has something going on, we always get out of their way to do it, but it's just so rare. We are the ones that are waiting until 2:45 to get control of the gym and, these spaces. So to me, that seems like the most important change, which I don't think that I'll probably, and I can meet with Lindsay just to get
so
her.
just recognizing that they have first priority and then, but otherwise we have.
Yeah,
Right.
I
We have
guess
the
so,
issue.
it's not accurate,
Right.
what's written.
I mean, you're
If
talking
there was
about,
ever an issue, that would be completely false,
right, well, we want the agreement to reflect the reality of what's
Exactly.
happening on the
Right.
ground. So you would say in section 2, priority of use A, that you throw a sentence in there that,
Includes weekday after school and weekday evenings.
well, not those, but just general statement that during the school.
Well, no, that
Year.
will become the new sub I. It'll
Yeah,
just say during the school
year,
year.
the school
the
has
school has
priority
priority.
for assemblies, classes, rehearsals,
Right.
concerts.
I see, then you would break out from that,
And
right,
then
then you,
take, yes, and then
Right.
take that weekday after school, weekday
Right.
evening portion and add it to our priority.
I see,
Yeah.
To the Friday evenings, weekends. and
got
holidays.
it, so just move that part down into the next,
Yeah.
Into two.
subsection,
And then
okay,
in the number 3 sub, I would take out Massachusetts vacation.
I was gonna say, that was the
That's-
one I kept focusing on.
Yeah.
You don't have priority
No.
during mass
No,
vacation.
we do not have that, so I would take that out just because.
But you do have during New Hampshire vacation week.
But that's one of the SAU vacation. weeks.
Right, so that falls under the
Okay.
SU 48
Oh, okay.
vacation. week.
right,
And then I think that was all I had. There, and then if you go down a little further to B, in the first subcategory, it says the art room. And I am saying we should add a multi-purpose room. It should read, the art room and multi-purpose room will be exclusively used, controlled by the school, except the town rec will have used during summer vacation. But we do not get any use of the multipurpose room at all during the school year. It's a classroom.
Right.
We do still have use of the cafeteria. We use that for, you know, how we used to have like facility functions in the multipurpose room.
Mhm.
Now all we can offer people is the cafeteria, which is much smaller, but it's still serving a purpose for birthday parties, different things that we do. So I wouldn't include that there, but I would add multipurpose room, just so everyone's aware that that's not something that we have access to.
Is there an art room anymore?
There is an art room, but it's also a
It's a
classroom.
classroom.
So we don't have access to that except for in the summer.
I guess my general question is both the multi-purpose room, quote unquote, and the art room have been repurposed and they're never gonna be repurposed back to what they were meant, you know, they were originally meant to serve, so.
Right.
I don't believe they will be.
So maybe we wanted to update the language and if
Well, I
the art
think
room
it's
is a
still accurate.
classroom,
Because what it says. Maybe this is just semantics, Rich, but I think
okay,
that what they're saying here is that the art room and the multipurpose room are totally unavailable to us.
right,
So no, but he's saying
Except
rename
in the
them,
summer.
don't call them the art.
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
call
but I don't think that,
No, no.
it's like Jugtown changing their name, you know, we're just.
well, but in a contract,
Yeah.
but in a, yeah, I understand, but in
But
a
even though the
contract,
art room went upstairs for the last 2 years, we kept calling that room the art. room.
And really,
Right.
those are just the common usage.
Yeah.
Terms of that area.
Right.
Yeah, everybody understands.
it's a
not
classroom, so I mean, why should, yeah, I'm just saying, there's no more art room.
It's the only way for us to differentiate which room we're talking about.
That's what I'm trying to get.
That's really what it is.
So this is, so keep that old language helps you,
Yeah.
to continue to differentiate.
Everybody.
Well,
Okay, that's
we could
fine.
make it clearer, and I think going forward, because someday we'll all
Yeah.
be gone. You could say the former art room and multipurpose room,
Yeah. Because
you know, because
Yeah,
that would
that's a good idea.
reflect.
Yeah, I
you know,
think that would,
way
I think
we're-
that's,
We're also putting them on notice that we're never expecting.
right, it's going to be a classroom, rightly so,
Yeah.
so.
So
All right, no, I think former,
Yeah.
And then if you go to the next page, under number 3B. This is something that I don't anticipate being much of an issue, but it became a huge issue for the last 2 years. Basically, it's always been this, you know, the way that it's worked at the rec department in school for the years leading up to, COVID. Is the rec department would close the building. We'd have programs, we'd sweep, it's very, like, we have closing duty, it's very operational, we do it every day. Well, when the school took over the after-school programs, no, they don't know that happens, so they were never sweeping or cleaning up or doing any of that. So I just think, I don't know how we just maybe highlight this section, because it's important. And like I said, I don't think it's gonna be as much of an issue because we have changed back to having the rec department do the after school program and generally closing the building, but it is important to note this section. And then the other one is in 4,
Well, but that's also important because the school department, rightly so, because they have Wiley. They have said that they are responsible for all maintenance and
yeah,
building facility upkeep and all of that. And, you know, you guys work with Wiley very closely. But it is a big deal that
yeah.
you guys are paying.
But I think this is fair. I just don't think that this was ever read by the former administration. And I,
so you would keep the
Yeah, just
language as
keep
is.
The language, but
I don't know,
highlight it.
maybe just talk about it
Yeah.
when you guys meet. And then the other specific responsibilities, I had, the last time we did this in 2016, I had volunteered to be the ultimate person maintaining the master calendar between the two, which I still take the brunt of that. However, now I've given Sarah, who's the administrative assistant over there, and Leah, for that matter, basically access to put in some of their programs to show on the calendar. And the person that it matters the most in this case would be the school. So it's not just me doing it anymore, it's also the school. So I'm just adding under 4 and I believe 5, sharing, or no, just 4, sharing in the maintaining of the master calendar. And then under Lindsay's responsibility, sharing and maintaining the master calendar. Just so it's not 100% on me anymore.
Well, and there is a coordinated calendar, which there wasn't at one time. They were two separate.
Right, I mean, it works very well,
Yeah,
and, you
Um,
know, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes a lot of sense.
One of the things that I don't know if it'll come up, but it did kind of come up when you guys met with the school board is 4A3, the security in the expanded facilities. You know, I think that the way it's worded here, in conjunction with the principal and the safety committee, is the way that we would want to keep it. That we wouldn't want like an expanded security section, because I think that could lead to, I think it's important that when the staff is there, are they locking that door? The outside access door now during the school year?
To which one, to the rec
Yeah,
department? No.
okay, but I think that's important to
And
not.
that's actually noted here. I did notice that when I was looking over this carefully.
Given the way security was talked about at your joint meeting.
Right,
I just want to make sure that you're on board.
Did that ever get resolved in terms of what's open and what isn't when?
No,
No.
I think we're still talking about it. Regarding the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a
Access to
solution
bathrooms.
except for the use of bathrooms if we are. Going to be able to run a program, you know, during the day. That still needs to be resolved. Are we gonna just say no bathroom use to the people who come to play pickleball or whatever? Or are we going to be able to use it? So. And maybe that's best left for Lindsay and I to
Mhm.
hammer out, I don't know. But in the history of this agreement on the first page under A, it says the town has primary use of the entrance and foyer, including the reception desk space, and have exclusive use of the rec department. You know, it's just talking about the entrance
mhm,
area, so, you know, it just spelled it out right here, that that's our entrance. And I think it would be up to them to leave their doors locked, the 2 at the multipurpose room, the 1 at the end of the hallway, and the 1 at the gym. Is that whole space is, you know, safe for our people to come in during the day and, you know, ask questions, look at information, get flyers, all the things that they do, buy a parking pass.
right, normal working hours.
Yeah, so I think we should try to maintain that,
Right.
that doorway as ours, as stated here.
Right, and then the staff has a fob to use the bathroom during.
Yes.
To go through that one door to
Yep.
use the bathroom during.
Yep.
During the day.
So I don't think these are any major changes, and I don't anticipate anyone's gonna have a problem with it.
Did you note the changes that she said, and we're gonna
Yeah.
get it back to the
Yeah,
school board?
we've noted it, and you're gonna be there, between the two of us, we'll make sure that they get the information. Yep.
Do we have a timeline of when we'd like to have an agreement signed?
Well, I think it's on their,
It's on their agenda.
On their
For next-
agenda.
I would anticipate, we had asked to have it before the school year.
I
So-
wonder if we should just edit this and
Send
send
it
it
to
to them.
Well,
so
that's-
they can
yeah,
that's where I was
interfere with
going.
it At the meeting on Thursday.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking.
And then they can discuss it,
Yeah,
and then if there's an agreement, then we're good to go. If not, we just bounce it back to us and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Discuss what other changes they'd like to make.
Yep.
At our meeting the following week,
What's their actual first day of school?
29th.
29th.
Yeah, so.
We have a
you
meeting on
have
the 24th.
24th, so
Yeah.
We'd be able
Yeah.
to get that squared.
and
Okay,
I know that I think Lindsay reported yesterday that the siding probably wouldn't be done in time for.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard.
Yeah, I mean, they're working pretty hard on it. It's been quite a obstruction for us. Way more than I anticipated, but we've been able to work around it. I mean, they thoroughly closed off that one entrance so that when people do drop off, you know, it's very different than dropping off and then
And then
driving.
continuing through, right?
It's a lot of backing up. It's very unsafe. you know, I know that they had a lot of concerns about voting on one day and that safety of that, you know, entailed, but this has been, you know, 3 weeks of summer camp where parents are coming in, backing out, so it hasn't been amazing, but we've made it work, and, you know, the school's gonna look great when it's done.
You guys good on school agreement? All right, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for all the great work on this. And
Sure.
we'll just wait to hear back.
I'll get with you, Mark.
Yes, we'll get that done
Yeah.
tomorrow.
On the, on public radio on the news today, I heard that, the town of Berlin had gotten a grant of, I forget how much, to put, in the bio plant, to put hot water under the, I think the streets and the sidewalks. And, I tried to find it in the Union Leader today, but I couldn't find it. And, it also mentioned that, the town of Manchester got a $25 million grant for something else. So, that was,
It's all the ARPA money, probably, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
a big chunk of it.
They got millions. They got $12,000.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so all I see left, well, the only the major thing left right now is the valuation.
Yep.
Changes. So shall we turn to that?
you can. We have the numbers from Whitney Consulting Group.
Yeah.
Those are the numbers that will be included on the form letter. We do have a copy of the form letter, which will go on town letterhead. We have a contract with a third-party printer to print and stuff the envelopes and the letters, so they will match everything up and send the letters out.
so does the letter tell people what their previous assessment was?
No, it will not tell them their previous assessment, it will just tell them
So the new assessment,
their new.
so they don't have to go look up what the previous.
Well, their tax bill has their previous assessment on it, yeah.
And then a date
There
for,
will be instructions there for reaching out, coordinating telephone calls or in-person meetings. Sharon, we settled on that the next week, right? So we're looking at September 24th, 25th, 26th, is that right?
August,
I mean, August.
August
Yes.
25th, 26th,
25th,
27th.
26th, and 27th.
So does history tell us what to expect in complaints?
Historically, this is the third reval we've done since I've been here. The other two, we had probably 25% of the people called or came in.
25%?
25%. You know, there may be more because of the significant changes. There may be more questions.
which is
But
inquiries, you call it
just
inquiry or come to,
just an inquiry,
no,
Yeah.
not to come in
not
front
to
of
come in.
and discuss it. Okay.
But telephone calls or whatever.
And these go
and
to
then
the people that.
They go to
are-
Whitney. Yeah, they handle all of that.
No, we're handling, they're calling out.
Well, you're scheduling it,
Yeah,
but the
we're scheduling.
discussion is
Yeah.
with Whitney. It
Yeah.
isn't with the board or with us.
So they call, if they have a question, you refer them
We've
to
got
one of
a-
these 3 days,
We're gonna have a list of
We'll
times.
be- Yeah, we'll be scheduling.
Scheduling.
on these
Yeah.
3 dates,
Um,
where they can come and talk to the assessors.
So should we have something that shows, which you showed us before, that it shows the percentage? Are we likely to get questioned individually?
I can do a summary sheet for you, so you have information on total valuation for the
Or is it
town.
better if we don't know that?
I don't, if you want to answer those questions, I mean, you can refer them to us. Or you can answer the questions yourself, whatever.
I think
really,
it's
whatever.
good to know, I mean, just the general question on the total valuation, obviously, we can't speak to a
Yeah, I
specific
would not-
person,
I
Plus,
would
it's
not-
still preliminary.
and it's preliminary, but we can say preliminarily, the overall increase was 30%.
Yeah.
in the town
30%, talking
valuation.
general terms, because they're not set values
Right.
yet.
Yeah,
But generally, what we're seeing is 30%.
Yeah, but I mean, they really are, aren't they? I mean,
No,
No, they have changed,
Yeah.
some of them significantly.
really,
With different information, sometimes they let them in.
Sometimes information on one property in a neighborhood or in a development might alter
Alter
the
the
other
neighborhood,
properties
yeah.
in that same area
Yeah.
as well.
So that is it's a knock-on effect for
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
the change is made. in one.
particularly in the condominiums, when somebody is sitting in a basic condominium and they've been evaluated the same as their neighbor who just did all of these upscale things.
Yeah, we talked to Steve
Yeah.
about that, Steve
About that.
Hamilton about that.
That's the most frequent scenario, I would think.
Hmm,
That
Interesting.
People that are in the condominium units, some of which are still the same. and some
Sometimes
of
that
which have been
affects sales
upgraded.
values, and sometimes
Yeah.
we're gonna have data that says it doesn't,
Right,
that people are paying the same, whether it's been
Right.
updated. or
Right,
not.
Yeah.
but that's for
But-
the
but
assessors
that's
to
for the
explain
assessors to
why it's
explain to
included in
Yeah.
a formula.
Yeah.
And,
I would not take, excuse me, Rich.
No, go ahead.
I would not take that whole list of the old and new values and try to talk someone through theirs. But I think just having a summary sheet that has some general numbers for you is a good idea. We can get that ready tomorrow morning.
I think it would be useful too, to have some, agreed language that alerts people to the fact that it's not a set increase across the board. That your increase may be larger than
Or
others,
smaller.
or smaller, depending upon the type of property.
We've had people complain because theirs didn't go up
Mhm.
as much as the neighbors because they, for value purposes.
Right,
You know, they wondered why they went up less. We've had that question.
And that general knowledge, which some people don't seem to have about how the tax rate is actually figured. That it's, if the numerator. If the numerator is the same, that is the town budget is the
Mhm.
same. And the denominator goes up,
30%,
the tax rate goes
Right.
down, but that doesn't mean that your individual taxes
It
are
goes by that amount.
necessarily gonna change that much.
right,
Because now your property is evaluated
Right.
potentially higher than it was before.
So all of those people on that ratio list that are above 1.30
Mhm.
are gonna actually see an increase in their tax bill.
Tax-
You know, even if the
Right.
total value, total
right, because they're
budget
above
doesn't
the,
change because they're over the 30%
right,
average. I mean, that in general. terms,
So
that's
that's-
great.
the guidelines that the assessors go by,
Mhm.
is that taking into account view shed?
Yes, as far as how it affects value, so yes, the neighborhoods. Generally, the neighborhoods that are up higher and have the better views are sold for higher amounts of money, so their valuations will be more. But that's how that's taken into
Right.
account. It's all based on the sales. And another big thing, I think Margaret hit it right on the head, that's the real important information for people to have. Along with the fact that we're obligated to be as close to 100% of value as we can. And we're only allowed to go from 90 to 110.
Yeah. and
On
that's
our
a
total
talking
ratio.
point. That's-
So
That's a talking point also, what was the other thing I was thinking of? It'll come back to me.
do we want to include such a general summary with these basic points in this letter?
no, this
No,
letter
this
is a
is
set letter.
Talking points for us.
Yeah,
You just want to keep it to us?
yeah, for right now.
For right now. I'm fine. No, I just
Absolutely.
wanted to throw that
The
out
letter
there.
that goes out from Whitney is a form letter. that they
Specific
use.
to a piece of property.
Well, it's specific to the
Right.
appeal, or no, I won't call it an appeal, but the
The process.
review process.
Right.
That's what this letter is really all about.
Right,
And after this, then they'll check all the values across town again. And they'll set final values, which you guys in a
Right.
meeting will review and finalize. And I think we set that for the first meeting in September.
And because we have a deadline with.
Because we have
DRO.
a deadline with DRO. And so you guys will review that list one more time and you'll vote
Mhm.
that these are the values we're gonna use for 2022 tax rate set
In October,
in October.
right?
Yes, that's the other point I wanted to raise, is
Yeah.
this does not give us the
Right.
final tax rate for two
Correct.
thousand twenty-two. There is still another step that takes place later in the year where the selectmen look at revenues
Yep.
and others, yeah.
And so after you set the tax rate and the bills go out, if people are still unhappy with their value, then it goes into the abatement process,
Right,
right, which they can file after the due date of the second half bill in December. And then they have between that December date and March 1st of next year to
File
file
for
an
an
abatement. Okay, so they get another crack
right.
at adjusting that.
Now, we're also, we have to wait on the state, school.
Oh, yeah, that's
And we have
all
to wait
before October.
before October,
Yes.
that,
Mhm.
and the school board will be looking at their numbers.
Yep.
To set,
Make
their
sure
rate,
that all their
right, and-
revenues are correct.
right,
all
and
that.
then the county
Yep. And
comes
the
in,
county
with-
sub-
right, so
submits
there's
their-
still a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of variables at play here.
Once we get through this
Yeah.
review process, Bob, the number of actual abatements that we get is very low. I mean, we're averaging 1 or 2 abatement applications a year. And even after the revals, it's remained, I think, 5 or 6 are the most we've ever had to work with in any given year. I can't remember a year where it was more than that.
Yeah, 2012, there was
Yeah.
more, but that was.
It's normally a very confusing process, then throwing a reval onto it makes it even more confusing.
But
People don't
but
realize
generally,
it,
once we
yeah.
get these values set after the
Right.
reviews, people
Right.
have, for the most part, have
Right.
their say.
And then every year, what, we sample, or is it every?
No,
3 years, or-
we look at the ratio that comes out from the state every year.
Okay,
And
that's what I was thinking. of.
if something goes off the cliff either way,
We then have to,
then we look at, do we do a statistical update, which is taking the sales data, not doing any visits to property or changing the values, but just changing assessments as they relate to the sales.
and then all the new construction gets captured,
New construction
Right,
gets
and-
captured through the building permit.
it's and all of that,
Process
and they get
and-
updated as they go
Mhm.
along.
Yeah.
Margaret, Bob, any other questions? on-
Complicated
Really?
process.
It varies. When do you think, Lauren, when do you expect to get the letters out?
The letters will go up Friday, I think is what they're,
I
Or
think
Monday.
maybe posted, actually posted hopefully by Monday,
Monday,
because the printers will have
Yes.
those to produce those letters and envelopes and.
So mailed on Monday,
mailed on Monday.
And so
They'll
we'll start
have
seeing this
over a week, about a week and a half before we start. They'll have them for a week and a half.
right before the August
Yes.
25th,
Yeah.
right?
And we'll see they.
That's why we pushed it off a week. They originally wanted to start the hearings next week, but that was too soon. So we pushed it off. a week.
Maybe you don't know the answer, but she has like 4 properties that say Waterville Valley. Does that mean the town, or does that mean the resort?
It's the resort. It may be town road, it may be Waterville Valley town road.
One's 9.5 acres. The others are minuscule, 0.05.
Oh, that's
26.
BBTS. That's BBTS. 103.43 is the at the base of Snows Mountain. It's Waterville Valley Black and Blue Trail Smashers, but it just gets.
They didn't get the full. Guys have any other questions? I'll take a minute to review and think about anything.
What about the town square? Is that the end of Waterville Holdings?
It is under WVSR, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. WBS LLC.
Yeah, WVSR.
Oh, okay.
LLC.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the 105,
Line item, map number.
yeah.
The 401s are all over the mountain.
Yeah, the 401s are all up at the mountain, but actually,
The one above,
I'm looking for the different buildings and I'm not seeing it.
$2 million two must be the town square.
there's gonna be, they're gonna be under, the Silver Fox is one of those. As well. The
It's broken out
Blue Star
separately.
In,
Those is broken out separately.
oh, no, I'm sorry, it's just one.
Yeah, I'll have
That's
to
that
look,
different one.
and get back to you. Because I don't see the different buildings, A, B, and C. I don't know if they're just all under that 105,003. I would have to check. But yes, actually,
I think they are.
at 2,236,000, the
Mhm.
first W or the
Mhm.
second WVSR LLC is Town Square. 105.3.
Yeah, they didn't fare too bad in terms of increase. I see a number of them.
Well, remember, I think Steve told you that in the letter, that commercial property sales have been very scarce.
Yeah,
So that the residentials are the ones that are changing the most and the commercials
The
are
largest
staying,
movement.
pretty steady.
Do you need anything from us to move forward with the letters or?
No, unless you had any other questions, you need
pretty
more.
exciting.
It may become pretty exciting.
Just the talking points, I think would be good. for
Yes,
us.
that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
We'll get that.
All righty. Board concerns and directives. Margaret, Bob, do you have anything in that? Either of those, board concern or directives?
Nope.
Good, okay, correspondence,
Yeah,
The housing
I
information?
just have the housing information I provided to James and Tim. They're using that along with other information to do their work with the White Mountain National Forest. It's just, those numbers are pretty eye-opening when you think about Grafton and Coos County, where everybody's in the same boat we're in here as far as workforce housing is concerned. So I think it really does strengthen our case when they are doing an application, that having those numbers, but
are they still meeting or is it having conversations before?
well, they're
service?
waiting for the legal review of the farm bill. I think they were talking about the end of next week, that'll be complete. So we'll probably have a meeting after that. To see what they want to do. but they needed to do some due diligence.
Right.
on the fund and find out what is and is not allowed. One of the things that Tara is gonna talk about that's related to housing is workforce housing with the state having this $100 million
right.
fund. Tara is in receipt of a program that part of the money will assist towns in rewriting of zoning ordinances to address workforce housing concerns.
Sure.
Sure.
We'll
but
continue to discuss it.
But we don't have a lot of land, so I don't know how much we want to. I mean, some towns are looking at actually taking parts of their community and trying.
Right.
Enhance or incentivize workforce housing in those areas. I'm not sure we want to take any of this land in the C1 zone and turn it into workforce housing. And that's basically the only land we
We
have.
can rezone, right? There will be, I think, an effort made to perhaps use the lagoon spaces once it comes to that for a workforce housing location. I've had a couple people talk to me about that. But yeah, we're out other than that, where do we really rezone? I mean, and do we, right, we don't want to rezone what little commercial we have left to housing. The other issue. Well, maybe. Anything else, folks? Okay, so you have something for non-public,
Yeah.
Mark? Do I have a motion to go into
So
non-public?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
So I got a